So last night obviously was a tremendous basketball game, but I think that despite that 48 minutes of drama, that's the small picture. The big picture is that the NBA is right now staring down the barrel of a gun. And if you caught Adam Silver last night at halftime with Michelle Beadle, I thought it was very telling. I've always found Adam Silver to be poised, comfortable, measured. He just seems like a great guy to lead whatever you need led. I feel like he'd be a great guy to lead your business, your company softball team, your professional sports league, your road trip. I just feel like he would always be a tremendous guy to weigh all of the facts, to be very organized, to have every answer to every question, but be flexible as well. Strong but flexible. I mean, I'm always impressed with him and his demeanor. And I think the best leaders are ones that are smart enough to know they don't know everything. Which was interesting last night because I don't know if you caught this, but I felt like Adam Silver was on the defensive with Beadle. And I think Michelle asked some important questions. I don't think she was badgering him. I don't think she was trying to submarine him either, but she basically said, you know, what about the critics that say this is now going to be the NBA Finals for the next couple of years? What about the people that say the Golden State Warriors are so good? This is at halftime before they had won, but the Warriors are so good, nobody else has a chance. And the answers that Silver gave, I felt, show that he was rattled, defensive, and must be hearing this a lot. And I think it's interesting because, again, he's so poised. He's such a big picture guy that I don't think small things bother him, which is why I think he was bothered by this. Not bothered because Michelle asked him about it. I think he's bothered by this whole thing from a big picture because big picture-wise, the Golden State Warriors sweeping are bad for the NBA. And here's why. People will say, well, they're going to get a good rating anyway. Last night's ratings must have been through the roof, and I'm sure they were. And going for the first ever perfect postseason, yeah, they'll get good ratings on Friday night as well to see if the Warriors can do it. But this is a big picture problem because if the Warriors sweep, or even if they don't now, but we know the Warriors are going to win this series, we will go into next year, and before the season starts, Gordon Hayward could go to the Boston Celtics. The Celtics could draft Markelle Fultz. Whatever happens with Carmelo, he could go to Los Angeles and be a Clipper. Blake Griffin could end up in Oklahoma City and be with Russell Westbrook. There's a lot of permutations here, no doubt about it. No matter what the offseason permutations are, even Chris Paul to San Antonio, the assumption will be everyone's playing for second. And with a fan base and a media that's already savvy enough to have called out the NBA for resting these stars in big games, the NBA is already fighting a battle where the public perception is, why do we play the regular season? How many of us are saying, cut the regular season? We don't need 82 games. Why are these stars resting? So the NBA is already wrestling with that. Why? Because we have already rendered parts of the regular season, if not the entire regular season, irrelevant. How many of us have said, just get us to the playoffs? Please get us to the playoffs. Hell, this year we said, get us to the NBA Finals, right? How many of us said, at least we'll get Cavs Warriors? At least we'll have the trilogy. At least we'll have a great NBA Finals. This is going to be the evidence that it's not even a great NBA Finals. That we could have a great game in the NBA Finals, maybe two, but it's not a great NBA Finals. So what the NBA is staring down the barrel of is the consensus being you don't have to pay attention to the regular season, and you don't have to pay attention to the postseason, and the NBA Finals might suck as well. Imagine an entire fan base and country basically deeming a league irrelevant. Now, I'm not saying people would stop watching altogether. There's basketball fans that would watch basketball because you want to see Russell Westbrook drop a triple-double. You'd want to see Kawhi Leonard do what he does. You'd want to see LeBron because of his greatness. But that ultimately, your fan base starts shrinking down to the very core people that just have to watch basketball because they love basketball or because there's nothing else on. But that's not a competitive product. If I asked you today who's going to win the Super Bowl, if I asked 20 people, I'd probably get at least 10 different answers. Maybe 10 of them would say the Patriots, but I know I would get other answers than that. The Packers, the Cowboys, the Steelers. Pick your other, the Falcons, the Seahawks. Pick your other 10 teams or 9 teams. If I asked you who's going to win next year's Stanley Cup, if I asked 20 people, I'd probably get 18 different answers. If I asked you who's going to win the World Series this year, 20 people, I'd probably get 10 different answers. If I asked 20 people right now who's going to win next year's NBA Finals, I'd get one answer. There's not a person in the world right now, unless maybe you're a diehard Spurs fan and say, if we get Chris Paul, but that's if you get Chris Paul. If we've rendered a regular season irrelevant, and then the postseason irrelevant, and then the finals irrelevant before the season's even been played, really bad for business. Really bad for TV ratings, really bad for business, really bad for attendance, really bad for income, really bad for everything. And so Adam Silver's fighting this fight right now because he knows it's coming. This freight train is coming this summer.